So this is a story of mine that was played on BBC Radio Bristol recently. It was actually written back in 2013 following a news story that an organisation was seeking an older married couple to crew the first manned mission to Mars. It was felt that an established couple would be better placed to withstand the psychological rigours of the trip and the enforced isolation. Given that we'd just gone into quarantine about a week before the official lockdown, it seemed quite appropriate, and it seems to have resonated with some people, and I thought I'd give it another reading. Last Tango in Space. I wake to the sound of silence. I don't count the ever-present edge-of-hearing hum of the engines. That's already become part of my world, processed and relegated to the back of my consciousness. It's human noise that's lacking. The clatter and chatter and buzz of life goes on and same old, same old. There hasn't been much in the way of silence so far. We were barely free of Earth's atmosphere before we both began to talk. A stream of consciousness with a slightly frantic leading edge, communicating nothing but our desperate need to keep the silence at bay in case the realisation of what we'd done squirmed into the space between the words. In recent years, I've often thought we don't talk enough. Not like when we were young. There's been so much to get in the way. It's hard to talk over a baby howling or the incessant why of a toddler. Don't even get me started on teenagers. Yet here we were, with nothing but time, talking much and saying nothing. We ran out of safe topics late on the second night and resorted to making love, burying ourselves in the wordlessness of sex where a well-placed moan or a neutral sigh could mean anything at all. Now it's quiet. The earth has receded to a marble, and I find myself wondering if it's real. I try to be certain that my 3 daughters are pottering around their kitchens, spooning mush into babies and fending off clutching toddlers, but the images are two-dimensional and stiff like children's toys posed in an impression of life. Then there's the other one, barely real at all. I sometimes think I'm the only one who remembers he was ever here, however briefly. No one else speaks of him, and I've grown embarrassed to say his name, as though I'm committing some social faux pas so terrible that no one can bring themselves to correct me. I wonder if anyone down there is thinking of me, or if I've dwindled to just a concept, cut out dull, stark against the stars. Day 24. We've run out of old grievances and unresolved disputes. It's strange, it's almost impossible to argue without props. Without doors to slam or bedrooms to flounce to, you only have the words, nothing else. I keep looking around for my daughters. They took my part in any argument like a Greek chorus. He'd always back down, unable to outface us, taking refuge behind his newspaper. He had a way of opening the broadsheets that was clearly intended to tell me that he was giving in, not accepting that I was right. It was in the flick of his wrists as he shook out the pages. There are no newspapers here, no news, just the 2 of us, full of old stories. We look into each other's eyes as we argue. Everything irrelevant is stripped away as we fight our way down to the core of the thing, free-falling into old conflicts and discovering, with surprise and regret, that there was never much to them at all. Day 107. Today, I fantasise about killing him. I thought space was supposed to make you feel small. So why is every tiny little thing he does magnified 1,000,000 times until it fills my vision? That thing he does with his hand, the way he scratches his nose, that sniff. It'll be like one of those films, the ones where a load of unnecessarily good-looking space travellers find an abandoned ship and decide that it would be a good idea to beam aboard and have a poke around. They usually split up at some point. And then some disposable, slightly less good-looking character finds himself in a long, empty corridor, the lights beginning to strobe, and he knows something nasty's about to happen. It'll be like that. When the lights go out, he'll sit there, waiting for the power to come back. Then there'll be a microsecond of light showing my teeth bared in a snarl. Another flash, and I'll have disappeared. He'll say my name a couple of times, roll his eyes in the safety of the darkness, and turn away. The next flash will show me with a knife in my upraised hand. I'm not sure where I'll find a knife, mind. Maybe I could shove him into an airlock and eject him into space. Do we have airlocks? There must be a manual somewhere. In the glove box, perhaps? Do we have glove boxes? It's not just the sniffing, though. It's the way he sniggered when he found me holding the charts up to the window, trying to work out the unreadable scribble and scatter of stars. You never could map read, he said. If you were navigating, we'd finish up somewhere past Jupiter. Every relationship has its own anthropology, its own language, secrets and understandings. It has its own mythology, too. You always, you never could, you do this every time. Your faults and failings soak into the very fabric of your lives, emerging as anecdotes at family gatherings or inappropriate drink-fueled moments. They become so ingrained that you can't scrub them away, no matter how many times you grit your teeth and smile and try not to scream, "For God's sake, I did that once." And you can't leave them behind. So out here, millions of miles away from the streambed where I grounded his beloved car after a map malfunction, he's still going on about it. It's as though our marriage has a pattern and a shape. It never changes, just expands to fill the space we inhabit. In our first tiny 2 up, 2 down, it wrapped around the confines of the poky rooms, keeping us close even when we bickered and chunted. In our spacious, semi-detached middle years, it followed us through the rooms and hallways, unspoken, ever-present, stretching and thinning as we each found our separate corners of the house. And here, in the void between worlds, it seems to swell and grow until it's all I can see. Not the endlessness of space, just the endlessness of us. Day 150. I suggest storytelling today. I've an image in my mind of early man gathered round ancient campfires with the stars bright in the clear prehistoric skies. I expect him to spin me some funny tale. He's always taken refuge in humour, always snapping awkward moments with a crack of laughter. It makes me want to scream sometimes, the way he always has to lance those tight silences, never letting them swell to their natural end and leach away harmlessly. Now I think I'd like to laugh, to hear myself laugh, to imagine the sound of it spiralling across the void towards the distant stars. Not that I believe there's anyone out here to hear it. All those little points of light catching the corner of my eye, each of them an anchor to a scatter of planets, and yet I have no sense of anyone beyond the two of us. Instead of jokes, he tells me the story of a boy and a girl who learnt that the thing about happy ever after is that it's over too soon, and the problem with once upon a time is that it never really existed. He tells me the story of our lives, simple and uncluttered. He tells me how it felt to take my hand and say "I do," and hear me say it back with a little snort of laughter at the thought of worshipping him with my body. How it felt when his first child wrapped her fingers around his. How it felt down in the chill depths of his lungs when he put his youngest child in the ground instead of the cot that was waiting for him. He tells me all the things I thought he'd forgotten, and I flinch from the knowledge that I've been selling him short in the private judgment of my heart. And then he leans forward and kisses me, and I feel a little pang of something that's not quite regret, and not quite hope, but something in between. Day 207. So, this is Mars. We press our faces to the window as we turn slowly round the rust-red planet. I glance at him to see if he's feeling what I'm feeling. He shoots me a swift, sideways look, and we both grin. I can see the shape of the thought on his face. Is that it? Is that what we've come all this way for? I am embarrassingly underwhelmed. I don't know quite what I expected. Not little green men with banners saying, "Welcome, Earthmen, please take your litter home with you." Nor an Attenborough-style voiceover intoning Mars, the red planet, god of war and harbinger of doom. But I expected something a little more, well, just more. Something that would make my heart swell, make me truly understand that we are the first ones here. But it's just like the pictures. It doesn't look any more real, any more interesting. Then I feel something. A little kick of familiarity and content, and I look down to see his hand in mine. I look at it, and I look up at the scars and the great old blood bulk of a frozen world, and I think about how we've once promised to walk through this life hand in hand. Quite suddenly, I understand why they sent us, why it was us, and not two of the eager young adventurers with a sleeve of mission patches and a scientist's hunger. It was never about what was waiting here for us. It was about what we brought with us. His hand in mine, a lifetime of rapture and sorrow and regrets. All the things that make us human, make us alive. Strip us out of our lives, out of our world, and all this still remains. That's what they sent out to space, in a pointless, flamboyant cry of, "This is us, here we are." Day 213. We're on our way home. We've got little to report about Mars, nothing they didn't already know. But when they ask about those days turning round the planet, this is what we'll tell them. We danced a badly timed tango. We sang Rule Britannia and the wheels on the bus. We played I Spy. We shouted the name of our lost baby. We kissed, we held hands, we made love. So if those little green men were hiding there beneath that silent surface, monitoring the strange intrusion into their skies, listening on the airwaves, they'd know all the things worth knowing about us humans. When you first hear our voices, in another 100 days or so, through the crackle and distortion of the radio, if we sound breathless and distracted, you'll know what we're doing. We'll be dancing. Dancing across the stars. Dancing our way back home. The end.